Thank you very much for taking the time to come. Power of good food.
That's true too, snacks.
Come on up, get up. Come on up, we're going to scooch up.
Yeah, come on,
All right, well, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming out. It's great to be in North Andover again. One of my best friends actually lives out on Abbott Street, Mike Quinn. I don't know if any of you know him. He's got triplets, actually, if you know Mike. And it's good to be here, and obviously to see Lori and accept your endorsement. It means a lot. I know we fought a lot back in the State House to try to work on a lot of advocacy issues affecting women and children, and something obviously I've had personal experiences with, life experiences with, and that's how we actually became close in a quiet manner, trying to solve those very real problems. As a survivor, somebody who's been involved in domestic violence, obviously fighting for my mom and sister since I was 6 years old, and then again in high school, I understand the challenge about fighting against that control aspect of abuse and working to try to get help. And back when I was growing up, it was a lot different than it is now. And that's why I've been working so hard to try to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, to try to make sure that the law enforcement and people helping law enforcement around the communities and the court systems have the tools and resources, as well as a lot of the nonprofits, to actually provide the resources so people can be safe and they can get on with their lives. And I think that's critically important. As you know, I also crossed party lines with Senator Shaheen from New Hampshire, dealing with an issue that's very personal to many women in the military in particular. There is a problem with women getting abused and getting raped in the military, and I sponsored an amendment, co-sponsored an amendment with her to provide the ability for those women to get the help and care and coverages that they need, and that's something that I'm very proud of. Now, my opponent would like you to think that I don't like women, that there's a war on women apparently, and with all due respect, she's saying also that I'm a threat to women, and using that in an effort to score political points of some sort, in an effort to scare women, and with all due respect, to take issues like this and use them to score political points, I find offensive for somebody who's been battling and living in a house full of women and fighting for women and women's rights since I was a young boy. And she needs to really stop trying to scare you all, scare women in particular, and trying to pit them against men and against their faith, and you all better. This election is about issues, certainly is about issues. It's about jobs in the economy. It's about getting people back to work. Women-owned businesses as well. The $3.4 trillion of taxes that she's proposing are going to crush women and men-owned businesses and the families that they're trying to protect. Her approach to that $750 billion of Medicare cuts is going to crush our elder women who are fighting to make sure that they get the care and coverages that they deserve. And the ability to practice faith, we've done it in our own health care bill, folks. We do it now. We provide that conscience exemption and also the care and coverages that women deserve. And it's interesting that you all know me. I mean, I'm from here. I grew up here. Been here since I was 1 year old. Served as an assessor, selectman, state rep, state senator. Now you're a United States Senator. And each and every time that I'm focusing on solving problems, I'm doing that for everybody. It's not us versus them, the haves and the have-nots. Yes, no. What about maybe? What about in the middle? What about being a moderate, like I am, a moderate Republican, pro-choice? Many of you know my positions. I fought for Planned Parenthood to get it reinstated, to allow, because there are services they provide for breast cancer, breast screenings and cervical cancer screenings and other types of things that they do provide. So I understand that. There is a balance. It's not always yes, no, us versus them, the haves and the have-nots. There's a balance. And we need to find that. It's funny, in Washington, I find it fascinating When you just need to put a title, apparently a good title on a bill, and then you should vote for it. God forbid we actually read the bill. You know, read the bill and see if in fact, you know, does what it says it's going to do. So when you think you have a jobs bill, you think, oh my gosh, that's going to create jobs. It doesn't tell you that it's really a tax bill, and it's going to tax $450 billion out of private sector and businesses like this to give to the federal government in an effort to, you know, increase government spending. I mean, it makes no sense. So I'm going to read the bills, continue to read the bills, and see how they affect each and every one of you. Because I find it very disturbing that right now we do have 23 million people underemployed. We have college graduates. Some of the young people out there, 50% of them can't find jobs. So what do? We're gonna demonize our job creators? That's really gonna help. We're gonna raise taxes on our business and job creators? Yeah, that's really gonna help too. We're gonna over-regulate them and continue to take? Yeah, that's really gonna help. I mean, come on, we need to find a balance. We need to find a way to work together. And that's what I've been doing, folks. I've been down there as that independent voter and thinker, doing exactly what you wanted me to do, to try to bring people together, you know, bridge that extremism on both sides. So why would you send somebody down there who's going to be part of that extreme agenda, voting 100% of the time with her party and with her own agenda? I mean, the person that actually provided the intellectual foundation for the radical Occupy movement. Imagine having 100 of them down there. I mean, come on. You all deserve better. But the reason we're here today is to accept an endorsement from somebody that I care very, very much for. And I want to thank you for thinking of me and letting people know what we've done. These aren't things that you talk about. When you're fighting against abuse, it's kind of a silent situation that you do and people work through, as I have, in their own time and in their own way. So the fact that you're here means a lot, and I'd like to turn it over to Lori Myers. Thank you.
Patriot. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
I've been working with victims of violent crime for 20 years or more, and even before that, fighting for women's rights. I think, you know, the scare tactics that are involved, I think have to stop. Where, as women, we all know that Scott is pro-choice, but there are more choices out there. You know, we've got to think of our kids, we've got to think of our communities, we need jobs, we need the economy, you know, to do well. I'm the mother of 3 children. I have a son who graduated from college with thousands in student loan debt, wondering if he could find a job. I've got a son who will be leaving high school, he'll be graduating high school this year. He's thinking about the military. That's an important issue. I've got a daughter who's a freshman in high school. I want there to be more than one choice for her. I want there to be choices for my children. Like Scott said, we can't, you know, pitch one group against another. It can't be men and women against one another. We have to stand together, and I've seen Scott do that. Back in 2003, when I first met Scott, he was a senator up on Beacon Hill. Met him when we advocated for laws to protect our communities. The side of Scott you don't see is the man who one day we walked into his office with a victim who was visibly upset and shaken, and he offered his office to us to calm her down. And we had an open door policy with him after that we could just go in and sit if people needed to compose themselves after testimony or just visiting the State House. Victims of crime want to be involved in the system. They want to change things that didn't work for them. These are issues that are all very important to us. It's you know, it really bothers me that there's somebody out there saying, you know what, you need to pick me because I'm the person that will advocate for these laws, or, you know, on behalf of women, when Scott has been doing that for most of his career. So that's unfair. We need somebody to empower us to do more. We don't need someone to scare us. And as women, you know, we need to talk to our sons and daughters. We've come a long way. We're not going backwards, I'm going to make sure we're not going backwards. I know Scott Brown is going to make sure we're not going backwards. Make sure I'm touching the first. So, you know, we all need to stand together, not fall for the scare tactics, and vote accordingly. So, you know, I am proud to stand here with my friend Scott and endorse him as a woman, as a mother, and as somebody who has advocated for victims of violent crime for a long time. So, thank you.
Questions if you have them, and then we're going to get some great food. I'm about to pass out. I'm so hungry.
Scott, Elizabeth Warren says that if you're elected, it'll be 6 more years of you voting against equal pay for women. How do you respond to that?
You know, I think it's laughable. She needs to stop scaring women. When the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, the Worcester TNG, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the NFIB all say that that proposal was the right idea but the wrong bill, I agree with them. Bottom line is we already have bills in effect, laws in effect right now to protect the pay for women. We also have Lilly Ledbetter, as the President referenced the other night, that provides a cause of action. And with all due respect, her tax policies are going to crush women-owned businesses. Her desire to hurt our seniors by cutting $750 billion is going to hurt our female seniors. With all due respect, you know, she needs to stop scaring women, and I suggest she reads the bill as well to make sure she understands what it really does.
Senator, on Israel, can you tell us the big difference between you in the Senate and Elizabeth Warren in the Senate when it comes to protecting Israel, our greatest ally? They're under threat every single day of annihilation.
Well, listen, I think we both will stand with Israel. I think the biggest difference, however, is dealing with Iran. She indicated that we need a nuanced approach when it comes to dealing with Iran. There's no such thing. You need to make sure that you draw a line in the sand and you let them know very crystally clear where you stand. And I've obviously been to Israel. It's an amazing small country. Under constant threat, and they are our greatest ally in the region, one of our strongest allies in the world. And I have spoken with many Jewish Americans and Jewish leaders indicating that they're scared, they're nervous, and they just want to make sure that we're going to be there for them. And I think based on my experience with being on the Armed Services Committee and in my military service, that I have a better understanding on how to approach that situation.
She's calling for them to stop settlements. She's calling for them to stop the settlements in the West Bank. Do you agree?
That's up to the people that live there, and there needs to be a solution that they need to work on together. For us to dictate from the United States what another country should do, with all due respect, I don't think that's productive.
All right, Senator.
I encourage you to buy some food and support this business that apparently they didn't do on their own. Apparently it's because of this road right here that allowed them to have people come and visit. But I know they did it on their own because they're out there working and sweating and trying to provide for this community. So thank you all very much for coming out.